Real quick before we get into the review, just gotta thank the people over on Patreon, because without their support, a lot of this upgraded content you see on the channel would not be possible. And I gotta say, on top of being able to respond to you guys in the DMs, you know, one of the fun things about the Patreon is every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul, and there's a lot of good goodies in that one. You also get sneak peeks at videos that haven't made their way onto the channel yet. I'm still figuring out what to do for actual YouTube memberships, so leave a suggestion down in the comment section below. But with that being said, thank you so much for all of you guys' support, and now let's get into the review. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto episode 196. And now that episode 196 is done into the books, dude, we got quite a few things to talk about. So I gotta say, I for one am very pleased with the small additions that the anime made. So if you're a manga reader, one thing that should stand out is the fact that Sarada and Mitsuki actually did something during this part of the arc. Because those of you guys who are anime only fans, Sarada and Mitsuki were not in the manga version of this, and so I like seeing the interactions inside the household. But what a lot of you guys are probably going to be focusing on is the fact that Sarada has asked her father to teach her the Chidori, which is going to be very important going forward. And I have to say, there is the possibility that the anime is going to kind of tweak things a little bit, because there is something that takes place before this where Sarada has a big event that takes place in her progression. But the thing about that is that I'm okay with the anime potentially showing us how Sarada gets a certain power up that she gets, as well as the Chidori. So I'm very excited to see the potential of her training. However, what I do worry about is the fact that given everything that is going on right now and how things look like they're pacing and progressing, we could have a situation where Sarada's training with Sasuke actually happens off screen. I hope they at least show us some of it. So I gotta say, for me, that was a huge point. Now the other thing, and this is probably just my weird sense of humor, but the fact that Kashin Koji is walking through Konoha with a black hood, and he's just got the hood all the way up, and he's got this black cloak, and nobody stops him and says, hey, are you a villager here? I've never seen you before. The fact that nobody thought to do that, number one, I thought it was funny, but number two, it also just shows you how lax things have gotten in Konoha. Yes, Ino has that new and improved sensory system that she's one of the main ones keeping charge over, and yet at the same time, it just shows you there's something special about Kashin Koji. Manga readers already know what that is. However, if you're an anime fan based on the preview, you're probably looking at this opening that we have in the anime a whole lot different now. So with that being said, now that I got some of the key points that I really wanted to address out the window, let's kind of back up and let's go into the actual episode. So I gotta say, I did think it was very interesting that, you know, a big part of this episode opens up with Kawaki, and he's inside the Uzumaki household residence, and you know, he's being watched, and yet at the same time, Sarada and Mitsuki, they show up, and you see some of the dynamic that is going on where Kawaki looks over at Mitsuki and gives him the side eye, asks, what are you guys doing here? And then all of a sudden you get it where Mitsuki's just being super blunt. The dude don't care at all. The dude's looking at him saying, well, you know, Sarada wanted to kind of keep an eye on you because she didn't really trust your ass. So that's what we're doing here. We're just here to watch you to make sure you don't screw things up. And, you know, I like that Mitsuki even jokes with him and says, oh, you won't shake my hand. Good idea. And his hand transforms into these snakes. It's essentially Mitsuki saying, I was going to take some of your DNA, but that's cool. And so you see that Mitsuki is every bit Orochimaru's son. So I thought that that was pretty cool to see that. Now, that being said, though, I will say there's another thing to kind of keep in mind as you look at the Naruto versus Boruto sparring match. If you look at it, a lot of people have said, well, what's the multiplier for the karma seal? So we don't have an official multiplier. We don't have that. However, we do have an eye test. And so based on the eye test, one thing that you can see is the fact that when Naruto is sparring with Boruto, he's basically slapping him around. Boruto's using all these shadow clones and diversions and petty tactics, and he's not using the power of the karma seal. When you look at it, Naruto's not really having to brace himself for any of those attacks. He's not really on a defensive in his base form. Naruto's essentially just knocking these Shadow Clones out with one hit. And during this time, two things happen. Number one, Kawaki remembers his own training with Jigen and remembers how Jigen was essentially saying, if you got time to cry, you got time to get up. And then Jigen is taking that metal pole and he's just smacking Kawaki in the face with it over and over. And he sees how Naruto is treating Boruto stronger, and the way that Naruto and Jigen believe in using chakra and power are two separate things. So I thought that that was very interesting to see that aspect of the dynamic there. I thought that that contrast was very good. I thought the anime did a good job of showing you there's a contrast without actually having a character tell you that it's a direct contrast. So I thought that that was nice. Now, moving into the actual Karma Seal multiplier, if you'll look, when Boruto starts tapping into that power because Kawaki starts getting annoyed and he's like, yo, why aren't you using the Karma Seal if we're gonna figure this thing out? Shouldn't you be trying to tap into this power? You're wasting our time. Boruto says, well, I can't actually use the Karma Seal at will. And Kawaki says, enough of your crying and you're moaning, I got you. Kawaki activates the Karma Seal and everybody gets alarmed because Boruto's Karma Seal goes off as well, but there's a secondary thing that takes place. All of a sudden, when Boruto's attacking, even Naruto realizes that his son got a massive power up. You see Naruto not only having to brace himself to take some of the attacks, which you actually see Naruto having to brace himself to take the attacks, actually having to dodge a little bit and move out of the way of the attacks in more than one fashion. The attacks are moving, as Naruto said, a whole lot quicker. And then once Naruto sees that Boruto's using ninjutsu, when Boruto uses his thunderclap arrow, it's strong enough that it's taking out one of Naruto's Shadow Clones. It's like Naruto can't dodge the attack in midair as he's going. Naruto has enough reflexes to where Naruto should have been able to twist out the way, but that the fact that Boruto's punches are going a lot faster, by default his ninjutsu is going to be traveling a lot faster as well and pack more of a punch. And you see it with the resulting explosion that takes place. And what I like in this instance right here is that Mitsuki's the one who really puts two and two together, and he says, wait a second, Boruto has all this power that's coming from this mark. That is a dangerous power. Like, Naruto's like, man, you've really gotten stronger, but it's one of those things to where Naruto's so powerful now that even when he sees that massive boost in power that Boruto gets, Naruto's like, well, I didn't have to use Sage Mode to turn on the QB cloak, so I'm not really worried about it. If it gets too crazy, I'll be able to shut everything down. But that's what happens when you spend 16 years as the strongest shinobi on the planet. You don't think that anybody can actually test you. And so it's a little bit of arrogance on Naruto's side, but it's arrogance that's well earned at this point, because literally if things go south, Naruto can actually shut this whole situation down. So I like that you see that, but Mitsuki leaves nothing to chance. And while that's going on, you have Sarada, where obviously Sarada wants to be the one that's training with Naruto like Boruto is, and in the episode there's heavy implication that Naruto's eventually going to start training Kawaki, which I'm going to be curious to see whether or not the anime actually builds on that, because of different things that go on in the manga. If you want more information, I have a video. The thumbnail should be called Kawaki Sensei. Definitely check that out if you haven't. But what I like in this instance with Sarada is that she's so worried that she's gonna be left behind, that you see how her fists are clenched, and you see how in that time Sarada realizes the same thing that Sasuke did, which is Boruto's definitely progressing. One thing you have to kind of keep in mind is that Sarada has trained with Sasuke and Sakura at this point. She's made enormous strides by this point in the actual story, but because of what Boruto has with this Karma Seal, she has been gapped. But by training with Sasuke, and if the anime is going to show her that power up that she gets in, it's not necessarily a boost in power so much. So I don't want you to get misled, but there's another evolution that Sarada is going to take when it comes to her Kekkei Genkai. So basically she's going to potentially unlock her 3 Tomoe Sharingan. So that's something to keep your eyes on whether or not the anime is going to do it. The only reason why I said that is I feel like if I keep referring to it as a power up or evolution, people are going to get the wrong idea. So I have a strong feeling that part of her training with Sasuke to learn the Chidori is going to be her in a situation where the anime shows the 3 Tomoe Sharingan unlocking, and I'm okay with that. Because what happens in the actual manga when she shows the 3 Tomoe Sharingan, I had to explain a lot of stuff because a lot of people scratching their head like, when the hell did this happen? They're building a backdoor way to actually show this training, because again, the manga didn't actually show it. People that read the light novels knew that Sasuke trained with Sarada, but manga readers didn't actually know that. So again, they're gonna twist things up a little bit, but I'm fine with it as long as when we get that actual reveal, when she uses that and she actually pulls off the Chidori, I'm gonna be very pleased with just how everything's tying together. So I think that the Chidori training that she goes to Sasuke and asks for, I think that that's really awesome. It's very much needed for her development, because at the end of the day, this is a battle shonen, so you do want to see the characters actually develop through the actual training. So I'm happy with this. I'm very happy with this. Now, the thing I'll also say is that just seeing a little sneak peek into the Uchiha household, I thought that that was pretty cool as well, because it's one of those things where the anime showed us small bits here and there, but you know, we actually saw a little bit of Sasuke's vulnerable side. You know, in the light novels, we see a lot more of it. We see how, you know, Sasuke talks about Sakura getting wrinkles and himself getting wrinkles, and Sakura cutting Sasuke's hair because he's been gone so long. Little small touches like that that really show the dynamic between the two. Also, you know, when Sakura is making the food for Sasuke in this episode, she's blushing, acting like a newlywed. So I like that the anime is showing you just a different side, because again, the theme of this arc so far is going to be the different messaging on fatherhood. You see how Sasuke is a father to Sarada, you see how Jigen is a father to Kawaki, and you see how Naruto is a father to Boruto and Kawaki. So I thought that this was pretty cool right here. Now, the other thing and the last thing, which is obviously the most important thing, is the anime closes off, goes full circle, where you see Kashin Koji, and Kashin Koji is basically looking over and saying, okay, I found you, Kawaki. This is where you've been hiding. So right now, obviously, Koji's not going to do anything crazy because Kawaki is living under Naruto. So he's not going to barge in there like that. However, again, keep your eyes on Kashin Koji. So my episode question to you, we're going to tie it back to the conversation that Naruto had with Kawaki, where Kawaki's like, man, I want to use Shadow Clones to beat myself up, and Naruto says it doesn't really work that way. I tried that once upon a time. How did that hit you as an anime only fan? And if you're a manga reader, the question I have for you is, if you had to put a number on what the Karma Seal multiplier is, what do you think that multiplier is based on what you saw in the episode with the extra small scenes that they added, with the extra smaller sequences that they added to the Naruto and Boruto fight, where it was just a few more attempts being shown of Naruto dodging and bracing for some of these attacks? What do you guys think at this point? What kind of a boost does a partial usage of the Karma Seal give from a scale to 1 to 10, and what does full resonance with Karma give? So obviously that's going to be what another character as Karma uses. What do you guys think the full multiplier for that is? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.